I'm not one of those people where I'm just like going in like, yeah, I'm gonna compete with everybody and like blow everybody out of the water. I'm just like, I can't wait to read what other people are doing.
It's true. It's one of those things where it's just fun. And I feel like there's part of me that would have had a little bit of FOMO too if I didn't. Because I'm like, no, like I want to kind of work alongside my fellow creators, and all of us having like this shared goal is great because like we kind of like aspire one another.
Hello, fellow Webtoon fans and creators. I'm Audrey, and this is the Webtoon Wave podcast. I have a really awesome guest today. I'm super excited to talk to her. She is the creator of Space Ultima on Webtoon, which is a really cool sci-fi comic that I absolutely love. Please welcome Artsumeshae. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here talking with you.
Yes, I can't wait to get into it. I am really excited to talk about what you're doing for the contest that's coming up and like getting the inside scoop on it. I'm like so excited. I can't wait.
Heck yes, I'm excited too.
Excellent. Okay, so just give us an intro to you and kind of how you got into Webtoon and like being a webcomic creator.
Absolutely. I am Artsumeshae. I am currently a Canvas creator, and I also make content on my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel has had a variety of eras, but I want to say the era that has really gravitated to people and has connected with me personally has been really showcasing my art, my creation journey of my comic and whatnot. So that is also where you can find me, and I show off a lot of other fun things like some cons that I go to, some of my travels, and then also just hanging out with me as I'm working on the weekend on my comic. In terms of how I got into webcomics, I really wanted to have more engagement around my artwork. So, everybody, when Instagram and all these things started to come out, a lot of artists would post their art, fan art, and things. And I was doing just that, but I kind of found it hard to get a lot of people even interested in my art to begin with. And then I want to say, similar to other people, is 2020 came around and I was more and more online. And being online introduced me to this little platform called Webtoon. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like these are really cool stories, and it's giving me comics in a way that I've never had comics before. So I was really interested in that, and I had come up with a story idea that I decided, I'm gonna like really push myself to do this. I combined art with storytelling, which are two things that I really love. And while it didn't end up panning out, I still felt there was a lot of things I learned about it on the long run. So that was a really cool journey, has led me to now, which is using Webtoon to put together a story that I feel really resonates with me more, and also allows me to make that sci-fi genre, which is a genre I love. I love, like Star Wars, Cowboy Bebop, like all these different inspirations. I'm like, what would this look like through my own lens? So that's when I started coming up with the story with a little bit of personal flavor added into it. So it's been really fun so far.
Yeah, I feel like the science fiction genre on Webtoon is such an untapped area. And I don't see, like, I see your comic ranking like all the time. It's like, oh, there's Space Ultima in top 30. And I feel like it's such a fun genre, and it's kind of surprising that it's not as popular as people would think it would be. Like it's primarily like romance, drama, and like fantasy action genres that are the most popular. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I really love the story of Space Ultimate. So Give our listeners a synopsis to Space Ultima.
Yeah, so Space Ultima, hence the name, has that kind of like sci-fi interplanetary setting in it, but we don't start there to begin with. We start with our lead named Sophie, who she's pretty discontent with her life, but she puts aside her own, desires for helping her family and helping take care of them. So she's working in a convenience store, which I feel everybody can kind of relate to working in, customer service or restaurant industry, of just being like, I don't want to be here right now. So she has that kind of life, and eventually she meets the male lead who's named Zan, and in this crazy encounter, something happens where she is now with some very supernatural and spectacular superpowers. And it kind of is one of those things where she gets carried away into this scenario, but with her wanting something more in life, she's like, you know what? I'm going to go and help you guys. So they are now on this adventure to take down a very scary foe who threatens a lot to their life and just the universe in general. So that's what you can expect from it. You can expect romance, you can expect found family, and just really kind of like a really exaggerated way of having like a coming of age story.
Yeah, and I really love that right off the bat, you get the sense that the main character is just, she wants more out of life and she's kind of stuck in it. Like she's doing
Mm-hmm.
what she can to support her grandma and like get through and just pay the bills and stuff. And her grandma's like, I want you to go off and like, find yourself essentially. And it just so happens Zan pops in, is like, hey, let me just save you from this alien real quick.
For real. Like it is a great lining up of events that kind of help be that catalyst for sure. But I think a lot of times, even in real life, you need something kind of dramatic to like push you and give you that final push to make your dreams come true.
Yeah. And I love that with both characters, you can just tell the type of people they are like right from the start. I really appreciate that about the storytelling and like character development you've put into it. And just I'm like, I know who these characters are and I'm excited to see like where they go from here.
Oh yeah. It came from heavy inspiration from like characters who I really appreciate, like for example, like Moana, for example. She is somebody who has that drive for something more, and she also gets whisked away on an adventure, and I also love how she kind of like learns and grows and changes as a person. So it was like inspiration from characters like that I really wanted to infuse into these characters.
Yeah. I can totally see that inspiration and I adore the story. I I think
Thank
like
you.
it's such a hidden gem on Canvas. I'm like, it deserves the recognition that it deserves. Like,
Thank you so much. I think that is funny because like when you're a Canvas creator, it feels at first a little discouraging because maybe you're not like ranking in the numbers, but I always pay way more attention to the comments. And like, are the comments consistently like, oh my gosh, like I'm so invested with what's going on? Like that's who I like consistently do it for.
yeah, I love reading the comments. They're like the best part of publishing your comic is just you get to see people enjoying the story and engaging in it and
Yeah.
it just makes it, that much more fun to do.
Yeah, fun, validating, and then when especially when they like know exactly what you are trying to tell the story about. There was this one person who they were like every episode, and you can tell they had just discovered the comic because it was like one after another, and every
Yeah.
episode was like a paragraph long of, oh my goodness, this happened and then this happened, and she's knowing exactly what's gonna. And I was like, dang, it's like you saw my script.
Amazing. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun when they start to like make their own theories too about what's going to happen in the
Yes.
next update. You're just like, oh.
I always have to. I put like the eyes emojis. I'm just like,
It's like,
oh, I don't know. I guess you'll have to see.
I like it whenever I see the eye emoji, I'm just like, this author's onto something.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're being sneaky. Yeah. Um, so with the main topic of the episode today, so the Webtoon 2025 Legends Contest starts in March. For our listeners that don't know what the contest is or what it entails, it's kind of similar to the 2018 contest. So there's all these categories, and basically anyone can submit a comic to the contest with like in the initial submission period, which starts in March. So both Shae and I are planning on entering the contest, and I'm really excited to talk about it today because I feel like there's a lot of people online who have been like, what's your advice for entering the contest? What are you thinking of doing? Like, I'm not sure where to start. What should I
Mm-hmm.
focus on? Like, all of these questions, and I'd really love to answer them today and discuss it
Yeah.
with you. And I just also just really want to know what you're doing for Space Ultima for the contest because I'm like, what is she gonna do with it? So I need the inside scoop.
Like, so I know that the rules, they feel this year kind of open, kind of ambiguous, but like I think that's great because even though you have to pick a genre, there's so much room even within those genres of what type of story that you can tell. So like my entry, I'm going to be entering the most epic, so I'm entering the action category. And I felt like that is one thing that consistently throughout my season of Space Ultima has been a thing. You know, you have this super powered character, you have this elite team, that there's gonna be missions, there's gonna be scenes of action. So even though, like, yes, there is mystery and intrigue, yes, there is romance in it, at the same time, how can I captivate the first three episodes? I feel like I can captivate with like action. So I think that it's not, once you kind of realize the room you have within the genres, I feel like you can kind of play around within those parameters. So I'm excited about that. And then if anybody has been keeping an eye out on their email newsletters, those have been really helpful.
Yeah.
I was like, these, I feel like these are good for anybody, even if they're not entering the contest. Like
Yeah.
they're so uh descriptive, and they really break it down. Would you say that too?
Yeah, I would. They basically are breaking down like how you should start your story on Webtoon and like the key things that you should focus on, which is like getting into who your characters are, the story, what can readers expect from the story. They should know what to expect within the first three episodes, right? Of what will
Mm-hmm.
happen. And then you should have like your launch hook, which is basically the thing that basically hooks the reader into the story.
And I think that's been really helpful. Just I wish if I were starting a webtoon in this year of 2025, I feel like those would have been so helpful. and
Absolutely.
and I probably wouldn't have had to go through the stress of figuring out all this. But yeah, I think that my contest entry, my step one after reading like the general rules page, I was like, I need to rearrange my pacing for Space Ultima. So I kind of knew this for a long time. with Space Ultima, that was like my first time really getting invested in the storytelling. And I feel like making a story for not even just webtoon but just web comics and like vertical scrolling is so different than writing a comic for like a manga or a graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my method of like mapping out my story from the beginning, like before I even started drawing, I feel like it's very much paced how a comic or how a TV show would be paced. So you're kind of assuming the person is going to invest time in sticking around. That is not the case with webtoons. And, you know, some may say that's good or bad, but it's just the objective truth. So with Space Ultima, I thought that my first step was, and I wish my camera was working because I would show you. I literally took the JPEGs, printed them out, and cut them into like tiny thumbnails, and I rearranged them to see what pacing would work. I know. I was
Oh my
like,
goodness.
because now for me, I was like, well, I don't want to just look on the Webtoon app. And then when you make Webtoon JPEGs, they're like super long uh,
Mm-hmm.
images. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm going to go old school. I'm going to just like put together a collage of how I want my comic to
Amazing.
go. I wouldn't recommend it. It's very convoluted. But what I mean to say is I was like, what can be the most gripping out the gate? And so that's where I really started with reimagining how Space Ultima could have its second chance at being, you know, that episode 1. So from there I went back into my scripts because I still had them, and I rearranged the story beats, and I rearranged the story beats and had some close people give it a read and be like, I had people who maybe didn't read Space Ultima at the beginning, or people who are like longtime fans of it who I know. So I had them kind of read it, and they gave me like suggestions and stuff, which I wouldn't say now is too late to get input on your scripts, but like, you know, it's better late than never. And just having those added suggestions really helped me see, okay, what do people really react to? Do people really react to this character doing this action or not? So that really helped me. And so now I have like my reinvented scripts, and I'm really hoping, I feel like they do a good job of, you know, checking those boxes that Webtoon has for the contest. um but yeah, I'm really excited so far because now I get to kind of experience Space Ultima all over again for myself.
Yeah. And all your readers. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. So was when the news of the contest reached your eyes, your ears, or whatever, was Space Ultima the first thing that you thought of, or were you kind of bouncing between should I reboot Space Ultima or should I do something new?
I don't have too many at this stage right now. I didn't really have too many other story ideas. There is one story idea that is just kind of like in my back pocket, but the funny thing is, it's somewhat related to the Space Ultima universe. So I felt like I rather kind of complete and wrap up this story first before doing that. So yeah, when I first heard about the contest, I was like, I think Space Ultima, I think it would have a chance. And if not, then it's something that I want to put on to a larger uh, audience, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So,
Yeah, to
like,
get more
if
eyes on it.
exactly, to get more eyes on it, I think this would be a really great opportunity. Um, and that's the other thing too. I'm personally not even rebooting the story. I'm just kind of like rearranging it in a way that you know, is more attractive. Let's just say that.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think when I first heard about it, I was like, this is a great opportunity because I already had my roadmap of completing part 1 before the contest was in like full swing. So I was like, I think that's great because if, you know, fans read the finale and they're like, oh my gosh, I want more, then there's your chance to get more Space Ultima, because guess what? You're gonna get to experience it from the beginning. So yeah, I think that it was a good uh, challenge that I was ready for.
Yeah, and I think the contest is such a great way to kind of see how you have improved in both art and storytelling since you've been
Mm-hmm.
publishing Space Ultima. Like, I said this before we were recording that I was rereading it a little while ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, her art has improved. Like, it's crazy. Like, I mean, of course you kept your art style, which I absolutely love, but it's like you improved upon it too. And I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to see what she does with the contest. This is gonna look so good.
Yes, I am very excited about that, especially because um seeing my finale of part 1 for the comic as it stands now, I was like, this is the same energy I want to bring to the contest. And it almost felt
Oh,
like it almost felt like I was like kind of rehearsing. That's
mm.
so funny to think of. I was kind of like rehearsing for it.
Yeah.
Um and also too, I had, it's not just like learning more about Clip Studio Paint or being more consistent about practicing your drawing, but it's also seeing and reading other people's comics and just seeing what techniques they implement. One that comes to mind, I think it's pronounced Russo, right?
Russo.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yes, so shout out to them. They have been extremely inspiring to me, just their technique and how like cinematic and how much their like webcomic really flows.
Yeah. So shout out to Sakurita and Hope. They are the creators, the artist writer duo on Russo, which is I'm so excited. They're
Yes, like waiting at bated breath.
literally
I discovered it, and when I saw that there was like nothing else, I was like, "What?" I was
well,
like, I need this."
they had a few episodes published before, but they decided to reboot it. So
Mhm.
I think they're gonna try to release like 5 episodes. Sorry if I got that wrong. Reese and Hope, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But yeah, so they're rebooting it, which from what I've seen previews of, it looks absolutely like amazing.
Yes. It does, and that's a great thing. It's like you see all these creators and you just get inspired by them, and you're like, how can I implement some of these techniques into my own thing? So yeah, that's been definitely the growth of Space Ultima. And even if it doesn't like, I mean, I'm putting it out into the universe, but I'm not expecting anything.
Universe, positive
Yes,
vibes.
positive, but while I of course hope that, I can have a shot at winning, at the same time I feel like it's going to look really good when I carry it to whatever other platform where, comics are read.
I think that's a good mentality to have about it. Like I'm in the same boat where I'm not gonna have any expectations, but I'm just gonna enjoy the process and like improving upon the story and the art that I've already improved over the year. Oh, and we never mentioned this about like the prizes for the contest to those listening that aren't aware of the prizes. Webtoon threw together a $1 million prize pool, and you have 40 winners out of probably the 20,000 plus people or submissions that are going to be in this contest because in 2018, I think there was like 6,000 submissions
Woo.
in that contest, and that was back in 2018 before Webtoon really hit their stride. So I'm betting like 20,000, like that's my guess. So 40 winners from all of those entries, which is there could be even more than that, which is crazy.
How many judges are there going to be? Do you have
They
any
didn't
guesstimate?
say. They
Yeah.
didn't say. So the judges, I believe, from what I remember, I'm sorry, Webtoon, if I get this wrong, forgive me. But I believe from what I remember from the rules is that the pool of like the judges are a mix of people from Webtoon,
Mm-hmm.
other industry people that aren't with Webtoon in particular, and then Webtoon Originals creators are also going to be judges in like the later rounds. I do know a few.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Because I was just going to say, I don't envy them.
No, oh my gosh, having to
Because,
like sort through all of those. Mm-mm,
yeah.
no. I mean, like Webtoon will. I'm assuming. I'm making assumptions. These are all alleged assumptions to everyone listening. But I believe that the originals creators are judging the 40 that Webtoon chooses, and then they'll. So like the way it works is everyone could submit whatever they want, essentially, March 10th to May 15th, and then Webtoon will, out of all of those submissions, select 40 people. So if you are one of the 40 people, I think you get a prize no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, but you just don't know what the prize is.
Yeah.
And so whoever, depending on the genre that they're in, like the most gripping, most epic, and most feels, will have to submit an additional 2 episodes, 2+ episodes between June 23rd and July 14th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have that backwards? June
Uh,
14th to July 23rd? I can't remember. But I know, right? Whatever, everyone can go read up on the rules themselves if you are, you know, to know the actual dates. But yeah, so anybody who's selected to be one of the 40 people will have to submit an additional 2+ episodes, or if they're in the comedy genre, like slice of life with the most laughs, you'll have to submit like an additional 3 or 5.
maybe. I
I
do
can't
know that it
remember.
was more. Yeah,
Yeah, it
because
was more.
they have a slightly different criteria. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, so it's like the biggest contest in webtoon history, like web comics history, essentially. And so the competition is going to be crazy. Um, I'm not one of those people where I'm just like going in like, yeah, I'm gonna compete with everybody and like blow everybody out of the water. I'm just like, I can't wait to read what other people are doing. That's
It's true. It's one of those things where it's just fun. And I feel like there's part of me that would have had a little bit of FOMO too if I
yeah.
didn't
Hmm.
cuz I'm like, no, like I want to kind of work alongside my fellow creators, and all of us having like this shared goal is great cuz like we kind of like aspire one another.
I would hope at least one of my mutuals gets a prize. Like, shout out to my friend Rousey. She is the artist on the duo that creates A Dream Forgotten on Canvas. Shout out to her. She's amazing. She participated in the Wattpad contest where people will take a Wattpad original and turn it into a webcomic. She won first place, which very well deserved. She's amazing. Like I was seriously blown away by what she was able to accomplish with her entry. And I even go back and I read it when I'm like in a slump, like a creative slump, or just feeling kind of like unmotivated. I will literally go and read her contest entry
Nice.
because it is very inspirational to me.
Yes.
So
That's
shout out to
true.
Rousey. I love you. If she's
Woo.
listening. I want to get into more of an idea of kind of what your strategy is going into the contest and what specifically you're trying to improve. Not that you have to like give away the plot necessarily, but just kind of like what has been your thought process in trying to improve upon Space Ultima?
Yeah, so I want to say, well, I was going to say the two main things, but it's really the whole thing because, visuals and story, that's literally 50-50 when it comes to a webcomic, but I think this has been a writing exercise in a way. A lot of feedback I had gotten was, if this plot point or this character, if they don't show up in future episodes or in episodes at all, then like cut it out. So I know for me, I'm taking this opportunity to really fine tune my story, where there were things that I thought, oh, this is very important. If I don't have this in the story, then it's not going to make sense. And then I end up taking it out and the story still remains the same.
Yep.
So with the story, what's happened is I've rearranged, um so it's not a spoiler because one, it's like at the very beginning, but our foe, we actually get to see their prison escape. And they are kind of like the catalyst for why Sophie meets Zan and why Sophie ends up getting carried away to this journey. So something like that, I was like, well, that's pretty action packed. So why not put that at the very beginning? I compared it. I compared it to Lilo and Stitch. Because at the beginning of Lilo and Stitch, you have this dramatic introduction to not just like Stitch himself, but really the story and the catalyst.
Yeah.
So you get introduced to that. And now, one, you see the stakes. You see, oh my gosh, like, what is this entity and who is going to take down this entity? And then in Lilo and Stitch, you're then put into a more calm and peaceful scenario of like Hawaii and all this like nice peaceful area. So that's kind of like, I was like, that's basically what Space Ultima is that you have this like dramatic and dangerous foe, and then you get to see Sophie and the life that she has, but you're also seeing a life that we're not going back to. um so that's been my biggest thing, is like, okay, how can I tell the story but also be more concise with it? So that's been really my strategy, I would say, with the story, is how can I tighten up things that don't need to be there. There have been things that I took out compared to the original, that it's like, for example, you see her life working at the convenience store, and already we know that's a crappy job. If I saw a story where they made a convenience store clerk look like some luxurious thing, I would be like, I would watch it, because I'm like, why? Like, we all know that that's not a luxurious job. So already we know that she's not working in the best circumstances. So that montage of understanding what it's like working there, I cut a lot out because it's kind of implied already. But by cutting out things, that gives you more time to sit with plot points that actually do matter. So that's been one of the keys when it comes down to rewriting. And there have been some things that I'm like, this is giving me the opportunity to maybe improve upon. So like the character design, certain characteristics about Sophie and Zan. There are things in terms of how they interact that I get to now change a little bit. Um, and also, too, with this whole contest being so based on the first three episodes, I'm like, you know what? We're going to see that tension. We're going to see that superpower. We're going to see this stuff way earlier, because I think after having my comic out for over a year now, there have definitely been things I wish I had done differently, and I feel like I'm getting that chance to do it now. So and then I will say, just from like a technique point of view, there are a lot of things I wish I had done differently visual
Mm.
wise.
Yeah.
Just knowing way more about Clip Studio Paint, knowing way more hacks and techniques on how to use these backgrounds and all this other stuff. And it comes from like doing it. That's the only way that you're gonna get better. But yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have an arsenal of new techniques I'm so excited to use.
Like what?
Well, like for example, using different like effects in
Mm.
Clip Studio, like I use Acon 3D. I use it most of the time. I try my best because I'm not gonna lie, like it is definitely a paid service. So
Mhm.
if you want really great dynamic backgrounds or cool brushes and effects, you are gonna have to pay for them. So I only try to buy the things that I can either reuse or absolutely need.
Yeah.
And I want to say halfway through part one of Space Ultima, I discovered this really cool, like, visual effects brush. So it's got like fire, smoke, energy powers, like this really cool brush and effects feature. And I was like, man, I really wish I had this like earlier on. So it's just things that I have like discovered, cool assets that I really cannot wait to use on these first three episodes. I mean, if you couldn't tell, I'm even excited because to be able to hit like the reset button on something that you really care about, it's like a big deal. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm super happy that this contest gives people the opportunity to actually start their web comics. I feel like this contest is a different experience for people who are revamping them and bringing them into new light.
Yeah, it's seriously, it's such a great opportunity to do that. And it's a really great motivator to, because you have a solid deadline and you have like, especially in the case of like creators who are rebooting their comics or even just like redoing first three episodes, like you have like a whole new experience of like already working on it. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe throughout that time, you've already noted down the things that you wish you could improve, but not having a motivator like a contest with $1 million prize pool, you
Yeah.
know, kind of hard to go back. And there's a guest I interviewed, Trevor Mueller. He is the creator. He's the writer for Repossessed and Nexus Point.
Mm.
When people are go like I've seen on Reddit, people are like, "Oh, I am looking back on my first episodes and I hate them. I want to redo them. I don't like them." Or I don't know if I should redo my episodes. I feel like it would boost reader engagement if I redid the first three few episodes. You know, he was like, "Don't do that. Like just
Mm-hmm.
keep going with the story."
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of merit to that. Like, you don't want to just be redoing your past work because then how will you move forward? How will you complete
Mm-hmm.
something? And it's, it's kind of hard, especially when you have a comic that you imagine going for a long time. And I I feel like there is a lot of merit to say, don't just redo the first few episodes, just keep going with it. But I also think that there is a lot of validity in wanting to redo it for the situation of like having a contest that you want to reboot it for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with either choice.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with saying, no, you shouldn't reboot your comic, and there's nothing wrong with saying you should. Like it just comes down to the person
Yeah.
themselves. I was watching a Pantheon Talks episode. Shout out to Apollo. He's the
Shout
host of
out.
Pantheon Talks. He's awesome. I think you and I have both been on a couple episodes with
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He in one of his videos, he talked about how this contest doesn't just have Webtoon's eyes on it. It has like a bunch of different like news outlets eyes on the contest, like other parts of the industry, like uh, manga publishing companies, other webcomics publishing companies. Like they all kind of have their eyes on the contest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, to the people who are like really set on winning a prize and that don't win, you never know. There could be another opportunity around the corner, and maybe it
Yeah.
isn't with just like Webtoon in particular. Maybe it is with another publisher or another platform. So you never know.
Exactly.
Like you never know if the opportunity that comes out of the contest isn't with Webtoon necessarily if you don't win. Um, I will also add that back in the 20, it was either 2015 or 2016 contest for the Challenge League, Instant Miso entered. I think Miriam Monastery entered with Hookie. Ingrid Ochoa entered with the Kiss Bet, I believe.
Mm.
None of them won.
Yeah.
None of them won. But now they're like some of the most successful people, like creators on the platform. And kudos because they deserve it. They're amazing.
Yeah.
But I think to the people who are like really set on winning but don't win, you never know. Like there could be something coming around the corner, even if you don't win in the contest.
You're absolutely right. I think that the yes, for sure, don't put so much stake in winning it, because sometimes you could not win something. I've had situations like this where it's like, maybe it's like a job interview or this or that, and they're like, listen, we really liked you. It You not winning does not mean this was not a good story. It just means that maybe it didn't fit the parameters in the way that they needed it to, but that they're still keeping an eye on you. They're still going to be watching you from afar and seeing, can you maybe carry this past 3 episodes? Are you going to enter this contest and just decide, I'm going to keep on going? And then they can see your story grow and blossom and your technique evolve, and then that's maybe when they can reach out to you. So yeah, it is extremely exciting to put yourself out there regardless. And that's so cool to hear that, like, other people, I mean, yeah, like there's been articles about this contest. Obviously Webtoon is like
Yeah.
on the main stage in this kind of way
Mm-hmm.
now. So
Yeah.
they're gonna have some eyes on it. So you better be in there.
Yeah, you never know. There's plenty of opportunities. And it's also just an exciting thing to participate in. Like I feel like this is also a great way for people to kind of find a new community or maybe expand their community in webtoons of being like a webcomic creator. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a great way to kind of meet new people, but like support, like find other people to support in the contest. And I think there's going to be a lot of really cool stories that come out of this. So I'm really excited to see how it unfolds.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
excited to see even like all the new people who maybe they've never like interacted with the community, or maybe even you're discovering them for the first time. That's going to be exciting.
oh yeah, definitely. I remember going back to the winners of the Call to Action contest that was in 2022.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it's crazy how much talent there is out in the world. And it's like, it's such a cool way to be able to discover like new series that you otherwise maybe wouldn't have seen if you had just been scrolling on Canvas. So I want to talk about what, in your mind, what are the most important things a creator should keep in mind if they're thinking of entering the contest?
So I would say keep in mind that whatever advice Webtoon is giving you, really heed that advice. Um, they're they're practically telling you how to win, which is very different from maybe past experiences. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have their like Webtoon Creator Academy. Like, I feel like a lot of that information has been coming in from there. But they've been doing a really good job to give you the resources. So definitely listen to that. Keep in mind that while you may get feedback on like your story or your script, I always would say, at the end of the day, what type of story you're trying to tell. So, some of the feedback or advice you might get, I don't doubt that it's great, but also keep in mind that you kind of know what type of story that you're trying to tell, and sometimes it could be hard for someone to really see the vision just from words, because also Webtoon is a visual format. That's really 90% of the important part. So just being able to visually convey it might be different than just reading the words on page. Um, I know for me, just in general, I use a lot of resources on YouTube. funny enough, so knowing that Webtoon, how the platform works, you really want to make sure that you have those eye-catching things early on, but don't sacrifice just instant gratification for really good storytelling. I use a lot of resources that are actually not really comic videos, but more so like TV and like film
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
things. So those have been so important because those storytelling techniques are like tried and true. And then, of course, watching a movie is like a really great visual medium. So you can really watch these
Oh.
movies.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, my dog just threw up. Okay, and I'm back.
So Webtoon has done a really good job of really giving you the cheat sheet to make this successful story. I find it interesting too that the things they're describing are really like on a psychological level what gravitates people to webcomics and webtoons in general. So obviously they've been in the game for a long time. Webtoon, they've been in the game for a really long time, so they really know what works. So I would say do as best as you can to stick to the format that they are describing, because not only is it a great format for webtoons, it's a great format for like any type of storytelling. I think at first it was kind of tricky because a lot of people, myself included, we were like, oh my gosh, 3 episodes? 3 episodes? That's it? Like, at first, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, there's like an iceberg when it comes down to any story, especially for Space Ultima. So at first, I was like, okay, what am I going to do about that? But then I realized, I was like, well, if I look at the first 3 episodes, I am practically doing exactly what they are describing. Like, I'm trying to reel in people. Um, that way they do get invested to carry on with the story. So I think that don't feel like you have to pack so much into those first 3 episodes. Really do your best to only scratch the surface. And yes, there is more to see, but you want to give them a really concise teaser on what they are buckling in for. So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
don't feel like you got to put so much into it.
Yeah. Like you want to have enough story where the reader knows what to expect out of it, but not enough where it's like they get all the answers right away.
Yeah, it's really something that you you even like it when you watch a movie trailer, when you can get on that like hype train of like, oh my gosh, you're leaning over to your friend and you're like, I can't wait to see that. I kind of see this as the same equivalent where somebody looks through it and you're like, oh my god, I need more. Do they have like their comic anywhere else that I can view it? And that's when you really know that you have succeeded in that. Because yeah, like if somebody does end up winning and moving forward, guess what, you have to now do 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind is that if you really want to achieve what they're asking for, then you want to entice them, and then if you get the opportunity, you can sprinkle in a little bit more plot afterwards.
Um, but um, and I think if you do get selected to be one of the 40, then it's crunch time.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have anything ready, if you at least don't have anything storyboarded, it's like go time because you got like 3 weeks to do, depending on the genre, to do 2+ episodes or 5 episodes or however many it is.
Like you getting selected to do 2 more episodes is you continuing in the running. I don't think it's you necessarily winning, because they still, yeah, like you said earlier, they're still trying to make sure that this can be a long-standing feature on their platform. So, yeah, definitely having these first three to just enter the contest, and then knowing, your script or your outline for the next two, just in case as backup, is crucial, because that's the thing, you want to be able to carry this story for the long run. So I mean, even if you may not end up winning, that's some potential there for you to continue, with more and more. So I would hope that, people have an idea in mind on where they want to take their story after the first three.
Yeah. And I think that I've seen this on Reddit. People are asking, like in comments or making posts, where they're like, should I have more than 3 episodes? Should I have just three? And honestly, it just goes back to like what you yourself can handle with your lifestyle and your workload. And don't burn yourself out
Yes.
producing a bunch of episodes.
Yes, I can talk about that for sure. um, I feel like, so I kind of have joked in a video on my own channel, but I was like, this kind of threw a wrench into things for me personally. Um, I expected to have, like, so I wrapped up part one with the finale, and then I expected to like take a little bit of time off just to, refresh, and then start writing for part two. And it's been very interesting because things have not gone as planned.
Mm.
And I'm not like too upset that now this is taking priority for a whole list of reasons that like I've already talked about. But at the same time, it's like it is a balance for sure. Like you, me, other people who, make this type of content, we are now having to balance all of those things at once. Um so I think just by completing it is gonna be the reward. Us being able to turn around three new episodes from scratch. That's when I can say that I'm finished with it. That's when I will feel like I've won.
Yeah. It would seriously just be like you should definitely look at it as giving yourself a pat on the back and be like, heck yeah, I did that. I did 3 whole full length episodes for
Yeah.
the contest. Like I feel like that in of itself is like very much an accomplishment. And I don't think anybody should knock themselves if they don't win or if their series doesn't get us the numbers that they want. Like you really shouldn't focus on the numbers, but give yourself a pat on the back just getting those 3 episodes done because it is hard,
It
you
it
know.
is. Yeah. I oh, so my finale episode is the longest episode that I've done in a while actually. And it know this too. Being a webtoon creator is not all glamour for sure. It is a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this contest is giving maybe newcomers the ability to know what it's like to create a compelling story, and to also physically create the visuals for it. Because once I wrapped up this episode, I was like, whew, I just feel like I was staring at a screen for a whole entire month. But it was so gratifying at the end, because I was like, I feel like this is an episode, all my episodes really, but this especially is an episode that I feel so much pride in. So I hope so much that everybody who's entering the contest, who's maybe jumping into this for the first time, really holds on to that, because that is the thing that's going to keep you motivated. Discipline doesn't exist unless you're like really thinking about that feeling that you connect with the most. And yes, this one has like a specific deadline. This contest has a time that you need to complete this. But outside of the contest, all of those deadlines, I've had to tell myself these deadlines are arbitrary. Like, yes, I am telling people that I expect to put an episode out at a specific time, but expectations are not reality. So I feel like you got to do what's best for you at the speed that it works. But the contest is kind of helping give you the expectations of what it's like to maybe create a comic for someone other than yourself. Because that's the
Mm-hmm.
other thing. A lot of us entering this contest, well, actually, not even a lot of us, all of us, because you can't be an original and enter the contest, obviously. So
Yeah.
most of these entries are Canvas and or absolute newcomers. So
And some
we
former originals too.
and former originals, exactly. So a lot of us maybe don't have a lot of experience with knowing what it's like to be on a deadline to ship a product at a certain time. So it's kind of given us a little glimpse of that, and I don't mind it, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's really good to have the motivator of the deadline because it's like, oh, I can't procrastinate, I
Yeah,
gotta, if I want to complete the 3 episodes, I really gotta like make it happen
put the
and
foot to the pedal.
put the put the foot to the pedal. Exactly. Go at the speed that works for you.
Exactly. And got the speed that works for you before what, May 12th or something? I don't even
May
remember.
15th.
May 15th. Oh, okay, see. So maybe do yourself a favor and have it be May 12th. That way you're ahead of the curve. Yeah, I think that April is a good time. And me and other creators, we've like been theorizing when's the best time to enter the contest. And we didn't talk about the rule specificity, or no, sorry, the criteria, the judging criteria. Um,
We could
but
talk
one
about the
of
criteria. So the judging criteria is audience appeal and engagement is 40% of your overall score. And
mhm.
then they kind of break it down. So art would be like, well, let me just pull up the rules here.
Yeah,
I could just read it off.
art is 20%, storytelling and hooks 20%, impact and satisfaction is also 20, and then audience appeal and engagement is 40.
Yeah.
What do we
So
think about
the
that?
so people were also freaking out about the 40% audience appeal and engagement. And this is kind of this how it was back in the 2018 contest. They had similar criteria, and audience appeal and engagement was 40%. It makes sense. Webtoon wants a proof of concept, something that audiences respond well to, and something
Mm-hmm.
that they can feel confident that will also do well in originals. So it's just a way for them to really know like how an audience is going to respond to a new original series. And they already
Mm-hmm.
do that with Canvas series too. Like I
Yeah.
see it's kind of interesting. I see a very wide range of Canvas comics get picked up to be originals. Like I went through a while back and I was going through some of their greenlit series, and one of their series has barely over 1,000 subscribers, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the type of story that they're really looking for. And so it really does depend on what Webtoon wants at the end of the day, what kind of stories they want on their platform, what kind of art styles maybe. It varies. Don't worry about like, oh, is this
Yeah.
what Webtoon wants? Like, just tell the story that you're excited about, that
Oh
you
yeah.
want to tell.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I think it leaves it ambiguous because when you really think about it, some of the biggest hits from Webtoon have been so diverse in like art style and their stories. Something that I find interesting, Lore Olympus is obviously like an OG Webtoon classic, but it's not, the art style is very painterly. It kind of reminds me of like the New Yorker caricatures. Um
Mm-hmm.
that's not your typical manhwa. And
Mm-mm.
I think that's great. And I feel like Webtoon is kind of trying to expand its, search so that way
Expand
they
its
can
catalog.
mm-hmm, expand
Yeah.
its catalog so that way they can not only have their uh you know gravitate way more viewers, but gravitate people who have a variety of interests.
Yeah,
um
exactly.
so yeah, like I think at first, yes, we were, because in a way all of us are so perfectionists at times. So we're like, no, I need you to tell me exactly what you need.
Tell
I
me
need you
exactly
to
what
tell
you
me
want.
tell me what you want. But I think that's great because it then gives us some freedoms to not make like stuff that we think is like cookie cutter. Just make something unique, something that's true to
Yeah.
you. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. And I still see it all the time on Reddit and maybe Instagram sometimes where people are like, well, I want to submit for the contest, but I don't know what Webtoon would want. And I'm just like, don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about what Webtoon wants. Do what you want to do. Like, this is your
Yeah.
story. This is your comic. Like,
Yeah.
why try to make a comic that you think other people or Webtoon is going to enjoy if you're not also passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because you never know, you could be showing Webtoon something that they didn't even know they wanted.
Yeah,
You could make a story or have an art style that they didn't even think of as until your entry comes across.
yeah. You never know that. Like, I see like some of the best originals I've ever read started on Canvas. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many amazing ones. And given, yeah, there's creators that kind of, who am I thinking of? I don't know. Yeah, I think some of the best originals I've read were creators that started on Canvas, and it wasn't their first story that got them to be greenlit.
Yeah. That's how, I mean, honestly, that's how Space Ultima started. I think that originally my first idea was in a way something I thought other people were gonna like. Um, and that wasn't sustainable, really. And then when I did decide to return to webcomics and storytelling, I stayed much I stayed more true to myself, and I feel like people were able to resonate with that much more. So yeah, it's helpful. You're gonna have your audience gravitate towards you no matter what.
Yeah. And your audience can tell when you are passionate about the story that you're working on. And,
They really can. And I think what ends up happening is that, yes, maybe it's very eye-catching at first, but then you kind of start to see the comments start to dwindle. And that's the I know it's something that I don't put shouldn't put too much stake into, but there was this one episode I put out, and it had like the lowest amount of comments on it. And I was, even to now, I was like, I wonder why. Like I think about that. I'm like, like either maybe that episode just didn't have enough content in it. Maybe it was just very short and people were only waiting till the next one. But yeah, I think about that. And it's like, if you're really doing something worthwhile, you're gonna have those comments flooding in.
yeah. And I think there's something to be said about, again, not doing it for other people, but doing it for yourself. But it's hard to maintain that sometimes. It's hard to maintain that motivation and that mentality and that drive to do it because you do get caught up in the numbers and you do get caught up in, oh wow, I didn't get as many likes. I didn't get as many comments this time around. I've
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I don't see as many views on my story. And I don't think that is anything to say that your story is no longer good or it doesn't have the same appeal. Sometimes your audience just comes and goes, and
Mm-hmm.
your audience could kind of go and then you could pick up new people. But the important thing is just stick to it and be consistent with it and just do it because you love it.
Exactly. That's been the most motivating part. Yeah. It makes it where it's like you're watching a movie and like the theater is like full of people and like
Yeah.
everybody's like oohing and awing at the same times.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah. I like that visual. I also like the visual of like if somebody's like, man, I only had 100 reads on this episode. And it's like, and only like 10 likes. I love the visual of like, well, imagine 100 people just walked into your house. They looked at your episode and they left, and 10 of them were like, I like this. And maybe a couple of them were like, I'm subscribing. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. It's like, oh wow, that's actually a lot of people.
It is. Like, oh my gosh, cuz I for example, I just uh got to 1000 on YouTube, which
Yes. Also, yeah,
that
congrats on hitting 1,000.
thank you. I constantly have that Patrick moment of just being like, "Who are you people?"
Yeah.
And like when I reached like 500, I was just like, that is wild. And I thought similar to what you described. I was like, that is, I don't even know 500 people. I don't even know 100 people. And
Yep.
that's
Yep.
still an amazing number. It's all of those people who individually took the time to look at your thing and move their finger and tap on that heart. So
Yep.
it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have one last question for you. What are actually okay, two. I have two questions for you. What is the thing that you're looking forward to the most with the contest, and what are you hoping to get out of the contest?
So what I'm looking forward to the most is being able to see the first 3 episodes in a new way. Um, I was talking about like how there is a lot of techniques that I want to use on this, and I feel like I'm right there with the audience and being like, oh my gosh, what new way of telling this story is gonna are we gonna come up with? So reaching that end point, being able to like sit back and look at this, because that's a great thing. It's like you never know sometimes what you're capable of. um, just jumping into doing web comics in general after I had at the time deemed it my past one a failure. And I mean that's a harsh word, but at the time, that's what I was thinking. But you know I don't think at that time I thought that I would try to do web comics again. So once I did, that was like a little glimpse of like, oh my gosh, like I did the thing. So that's always satisfying, and I think being able to see Space Ultima in a new light, but with techniques and tricks that I have recently learned, it's going to be really fun to see that. And what I hope to get out of this, I want to like continue to improve and enhance my workflow. So, for example, we've got at this point maybe about 3 months, maybe less than that, 2.5 months, maybe. In that amount of time, really. So one of the things too is like the length of episodes. How many panels. So the minimum panel length has to be at least 40. I've always wanted to have longer episodes. Personally, I think when I first started Space Ultima, I was doing like 60 panels. And then just because of workflow and productivity, I brought the number down. So I feel like being able to have like good chunk of episodes being created, that's gonna feel really cool. I'm really happy about that because I love it when like I get to read a comic and I get to like really sit there with it. I get to have my blanket, have my coffee, and like sit there and scroll and read these stories. So I'm hoping that that's what this gets. I hope that this gets the longer episode treatment, And that people really feel like it's equivalent to like reading a manga and like sitting down and really getting comfortable with it. So and then another thing about what I hope to get out of it, obviously, I hope to welcome a new batch of readers. So that way the story of Space Ultima gets a little bit more reach. Because I just, I, we were talking about how you want to make a story that speaks to you. You also want to be a fan of your story. So I think that's one of the biggest things about this. I will read my episodes after I have them upload, and I'm reading it how I think other people would be reading it too. So that's the exciting thing. I just hope that this can reach and resonate with more people.
Yeah, I think those are very similar uh, things that I was thinking about too,
Mm-hmm.
is just having the satisfaction of completing it and then finding possibly a new audience that will become invested in your story even after the contest is over. And I think it's just a really good opportunity to find people that have not had the opportunity to discover your series yet. And I can't wait to see what you put out. I'm just like counting down the days. I'm like, as soon as Shae posts Space Ultima in the contest, I am dropping everything and I am reading it. I'm sitting down with my dogs and some hot chocolate and just reading it. I'm so excited.
Yes, thank you. And yes, I'm excited to see yours and everybody else's, because that's the thing. It's like you now have like a new library of options out there.
Yeah.
Like Webtoon is already a really big place. So
Yeah.
I just can't wait to see everybody put their best foot forward, and
Mhm.
see what they create and think of.
Yeah. And good luck to everybody in the contest. I hope at least one of my mutuals can win a prize. I'd be like a happy mom. Like happy cheerleader from the sidelines. Be like, yeah.
Yep, yep. Like on, was it Mean Girls? The mom
Mean
on Mean
Girls when
Girls.
she's in the audience.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So good luck to everybody in the contest and good luck to you. I DM me. As soon as you post it, DM me, please.
Yes, I will. I will absolutely DM you. I will be uh, singing it from the rooftops.
Yes. I will try my best to share people's entries in my stories and stuff, and I
Oh,
will
for
try to
sure.
support people how I can.
Yes, definitely. And that's the other thing, some of the creators may not be like on social media that often. So if you've ever considered, using social media to elevate your story, now is definitely the time to do it. Um, that'll be a really great help, because you don't want to enter the contest and then it's just like crickets, like you want to really ring the praises of your accomplishments. So same goes out to everybody else. Soon as you guys are completing your contest entries, post it, share it, so
Post
everybody
that
knows.
shiz.
Yes. Precisely.
Exactly. Okay, Shae, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I had such a great time talking about the
Yes.
future of Space Ultima and like what you're gonna do in the contest, and I'm really rooting for you.
Thank you so much, and same goes to you, because
Thank you.
we're all in this together.
All in this together.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody, our listeners, I will include Artsumeshae's links in our show notes. I will link her comic Space Ultima. I'll link her Instagram, her YouTube channel. You can go read Space Ultima on Webtoon. You can go follow her on Instagram at Artsumeshae. She posts content about her Webtoon, and you can go watch her YouTube channel. She posts fun videos, and she covers her comic and all sorts of fun content. So if you found this episode entertaining or informative, give us a like, give us a follow. You can find us on social media at the Webtoon Wave. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we are on YouTube. You can watch shorter clips there. You can watch full episodes. We're on Spotify. You can listen to full episodes there. You can follow us on Instagram to stay up to date on all our future creators and guests that we have on the podcast. We have a really cool lineup, so get excited. So stay creative, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time.